We start again. Good afternoon, everybody. Hello to everybody online. Let me go through the script. Let's see.
As long as you take roll attendance, you can actually skip that.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. That's what the select board does now.
Read this fantastic, like,
I think as long as you announce that it's hybrid and you take attendance.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
all right. Well, then, so the attendance has to include members of the committee and then what, everybody who's online, is that the?
Just the members of the committee.
Okay. Let's see the hybrid. Well, so then when I say, let's see, members of the committee, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Rachel? Here. Curtis? Here. Caroline? Here. Mr. Dixon?
Here.
Jeff?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
Bo?
Here.
Joe Grouse is here, and I think, the word is that Jill Beef will be arriving shortly. All righty, so I can do that. Call the meeting to order of the Town Council Study Committee for Wednesday, there she is, Wednesday, June 12th. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see everybody this afternoon. The first item on the agenda is acceptance of the agenda. I assume everybody got a copy of the agenda at some point. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda? Second. All right, from same direction, Rachel? Accepting the agenda, sorry.
Yes.
Curtis? Aye. Jill?
Aye.
Caroline?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Deb?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Bo?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. Now, let's see, the Town Council Study Committee meeting is being recorded. We're doing this as a hybrid meeting. The issue of minutes. Yeah, Kelly sent me minutes that had been done by Curtis, which I think was the 29th.
22nd,
22nd, and you had done the one before that?
the first.
And then the question is, who did the minutes last, the 29th?
I took notes and I will try to scramble them up. They're gonna be very skinny minutes, but I will bring them or send them to you.
All right, has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes for the 22nd and the what would it have been?
First, yeah.
Oh, you didn't do.
29th is MIA.
So do people feel we can approve those minutes?
Yeah.
Can I have a motion for approval of those 2 minutes, please?
Second,
Second. Go backwards. Bo?
Aye.
Kelly?
aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Caroline?
I.
Jill?
Abstain, is that right?
Okay.
I,
Curtis? Aye. Great. Okay, at least 2 of them out of the way. Alrighty, we have. I guess 3.5 things that I would like to get through this afternoon. The first and probably the main part of the agenda is what we're calling a roundtable discussion. The members of the committee will each get a few minutes to talk about kind of where they think we are and where we ought to go. I have put an item on the agenda for a vote to sort of confirm the kind of where those discussions come from. And then 2 sort of administrative issues. I wanted to remind everybody, I'll just do this now. We are all invited, and I don't think we're required, but there's open meeting law training dates that I don't know if everybody got this directly or I just got this, but I can share this with everybody. The town would like us to make an effort to take the open meeting training, and there's at least three opportunities to do so throughout the summer, June 25th, July 16th, and August 8th. And like I said, Erica said it's not absolutely required, but it's probably a nice thing to do.
well, if you've done it before, I've done it once, do you have to do it again?
Well, I have 2, but I think this is sort of a refresher thing, so please make a note, and if you want a copy, or I can send it around again electronically.
Joe,
Yes, Donna.
hi. I did contact Maureen because I also have done it before, and all she wants is a confirmation, probably just an email about the certificate that we got. We don't have to redo it if we've done it already.
Well, that's fine. if somebody hasn't done it and you have the time to do it, I think it would be a good thing to do and send Maureen, the certificate you get at the end of the session. Okay. And then the last thing, after we get to our roundtable, I think we ought to talk about summer meetings and how many dates we do or don't want to meet over the next, call it 2.5 months of the summer season. Okay. All right. So the big event is going around the table and sort of arguing for which way we think the committee ought to go. Look at you, Curtis. You want to go first?
Sure. I had prepared a outline, which I had hoped that could have been distributed before the meeting. That's why I sent it to you, so.
I apologize.
All right, well, I don't want to bore you to death, but I started to write, I'll just quote part of it. To see if the voters of the town of Nantucket will vote to adopt the town council form of government as the legislative body for the town and county of Nantucket, subject to approval by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts legislature and ratification by the voters of Nantucket at the next subsequent town election, and revision of the town charter to reflect this change. That is, so trying to get an article put in the law. The outline, very quickly, town council will serve as the legislative body for the town of Nantucket. The town council, now take notes because here's where we can have part discussions. Town council shall consist of 9 elected members, 6 of whom shall be elected by precinct, and 3 of whom shall be elected at large. Council members shall serve 4-year staggered terms. Town council members must be resident voting members of the town of Nantucket. Current members, this is important, I think, current members of the select board will automatically roll over for the remainder of their terms upon final approval of this article by the voters of Nantucket. Select board members may stand for re-election as members of the town council. The purpose there is to keep the experience that we have and to sort of develop a new way of working together. Town council members shall be paid $9,000 annually. Chair of the council will be paid $12,000 annually. I took this from Barnstable, where this is a similar stipend that they pay, and a town council member may serve only 3 consecutive terms. A former council member may stand again for election after a 1-year vacancy. The town council will hire the town manager, who shall be the chief administrative officer of the town and county. The following boards and commissions should continue to be elected independently by the voters of Nantucket: Airport Commission, School Commission, Land Bank Commission, HCC, Water Sewer Commission, as well as Town Clerk. That's subject to adding or subtracting. Enterprise funded budgets, including school and airport, shall maintain their independent budgeting authority subject to town guidelines. A new combined water and sewer department should be created as an enterprise fund account. As a water commissioner, we work with the sewer department and everything going, and they're both billed by the water company, water and sewer on your monthly bill. So kind of combining them with 80%. All departments heads, including airport, planning, water, sewer, should report to the town manager. Existing commissions and committees such as finance, planning, HCC, airport, health, capital program, CPC, to look at the organizational chart of the town. Existing commissions and committees shall continue to advise the town council as appropriate. My objective there is something may come to the council, it's going to be referred to an appropriate committee for discussion. I'm not taking anything away from what we have. The MPD and EC shall screen and recommend candidates for director of planning to the town council. The director shall be employed by the town and report to the town manager. I'm trying to give NPD and EC their role as a commission, but not to say they hire and set the salary outside of the town guidelines. And finally, in this outline, provision is to be made in the town charter for voters to petition for a special town meeting, and B, referendum process if desired. And both of those abilities for the voters to still come back and say, we want a meeting, are the examples in the back parts of the charter. And I think it takes like 300 signatures to get a special town meeting, which may be advisory, not legislative. So that's my starting point. Obviously, I am in favor of a town council form.
Okay. I propose we just sort of let everybody say their piece and then discuss it from that point.
I think that'd be better.
Anybody want to go next? He did, he said it to me, Jeremy, and I screwed up. I should have said it to the group, so.
You want this one copy that I have? I can print. I didn't want to bring a sheet of paper. That's what I sent to Joe, and I hope to send that out.
I will. My
Um,
apologies to the committee.
I can read my next. I think mine's less mechanics. So like, I don't know
I
if we
think
want to keep it.
I basically want to hear what people are thinking about what we've accomplished and where we
Yeah.
want to go next.
Okay. And I'm just gonna read from my little sheet here. I think all forms of government could work as long as they are designed appropriately. I would happily work on a new article and or a charter with this group. If we are going to do that, I would also want to continue learning about other forms of government. It is unclear to me if this group would be okay with that, as I feel like I've heard a desire to move things along quickly and possibly only focus on town council. To make clear the additional things I do not think we have covered, here's a list of some of the questions I still have about other forms of government. Town meeting, can certain article types be dealt with more efficiently? Can information about attendance incentive programs be more widely disseminated? And are there additional programs that we can implement? For example, I know, like, while I applaud the work that we did with childcare opportunity with this recent town meeting, I don't think it was I heard it wasn't well attended, as well as I don't know how well it was disseminated kind of in the community and then amongst voters. Back to this idea of how could we improve town meeting? What informative or educational tools could be implemented, articles summarized, etc. How would that be circulated? What rules around public participation could be implemented to increase efficiency, stricter time limits, removing duplicative public comment? Regarding representative town meeting, my questions are significantly less, but that makes me think there's more to learn. The one outstanding question I have is electronic voting allowed? I think Sarah Alger said that, is electronic voting allowed in other forms of government? Finally, regarding representative town meeting and town council, while it sounds like the non-voting taxpayer base may be interested in town council, I think we as a group need to be very, very cautious to think town council would afford inclusion for marginalized or disenfranchised groups on Nantucket. It has become apparent to me that people don't know my work history. My entire academic and professional career has been in community development and the nonprofit sector, with the last 5+ years being on Nantucket, and I've been deeply devoted to building more dignified, empathetic, and accessible programs for our community members. And while I applaud our community for the work it has done and continues to do, I do not think we can say that our community has made significantly greater strides than others in creating inclusive solutions. For this reason, if we are to pursue any form of government where voting power is centralized, I think we need to conduct significantly more research about how it could afford or increase inclusion. If that is not done, I would be very worried about proposing something that in turn only makes civic engagement more frustrating, discouraging, and most of all, inaccessible. I think my ideal outcome or next steps would be to pursue a town council article and possibly a charter, but also to learn and answer some of the questions I posed, and maybe even offer an additional article or two that also allows voters to vote on town meeting changes, representative town meeting option, or a mayoral option. I realize this is a big thing to propose, but if there is interest in being efficient or expeditious, I would think bringing multiple options to the voters is better than having them have to establish more committees to study town meeting tweaks, another committee just to look into representative town meeting, and then another to look into city council / mayoral. I'm honored that this community trusts us to do this research and propose an article and even a new charter. And I would be just as honored to work on some or all of these things I just said with this group. Sorry, that was long.
Thank you. Right over. Anyone else? Wants to go next? All right. Go for it, Bob.
Speaking off the cuff, I didn't prepare anything. I think representative town meeting is what we have largely. It's not been formalized, but that's largely what we have. And that the mayoral, well, it seems like a good idea to have a mayor be elected. It's actually not. And I think what that would lead to is a sort of cabal of department heads who would recognize that a mayor with no institutional knowledge who might be elected may be a pushover for them. And it's important to keep the people inside at bay as much as you can by having a strong town manager, which is what town council, town manager form is. And to have two strong institutions working sometimes antagonistically, sometimes together, because you need that. Nantucket is now a $200 million per year operation. The operating budget went up this year by 14.5%. And that trajectory is now exponential. And I fear what's happening in Nantucket is that we're having a real lack of knowledge of what's happening inside the organization. And that's getting worse. So you need strong people. You need a strong institution who are dedicated, who are paid professionally, and you need an arm's length contract with the voters for these people to do their job. And you give them, look, you give the voters access. Everybody, you give the voters access, give them as much access as they want or as they need, okay? But you set up this institution so that it holds the other institution in check. That's the idea. It's to sort of gamify this like our political system, our federal system is. Gamify it and let it run.
Okay.
Anybody?
And develop.
I don't know you do that.
I'm trying to go last, so
Oh, fair enough.
I'm taking my prerogative. Trying to go last.
I guess I'll go next. I don't have dissimilar feelings to Bo or Curtis here. I think we've done a really good job of at least kind of reviewing all of the options available to us and talking about it. And I think, we've obviously all been living with open town meeting and tend to agree with Bo that it's almost morphed into a representative town meeting in some way for the crowd that's there. And I really think looking at efficiencies and spending a lot of time looking at other communities and seeing it, I think we've really hit a point where we have to start doing what, Curtis kicked off the night with, is start really looking at the details and crafting what a town council may be and start having those debates on what would make up a new charter for town council and looking at it. I know that's also, I a little like Jill, I'm a kind of a creature of process. We've been tasked with that by town meeting already to do that. And I think it's our duty to at least put our best foot forward to do that. But I think a lot of questions that some of us still have, myself included, get answered when you have those debates about the specifics on how, we divide up responsibilities between a new potential legislature and even to have that debate over a mayor or town manager, I think you sort some of those out and you create those structures and you can create answers to the questions that I think some of us might still have. But I think we have to do that work to be able to address those questions and then get to the end and hopefully put it forward. I mean, I personally am in favor of moving forward on town council specifically, just for the fact that in my research and looking at it, I think it's a more efficient form for the $200 million monster that Nantucket has become. And dealing with a population that's, you know, realistically in the 20,000s that for 3 to 4 months of the year gets up into the 50+ range for sure. And it's, you know, we're not a sleepy town anymore. We're a seasonal city with demands and stresses on our resources to do so. And we need a government that can respond from both branches in a timely manner to those stresses. And I truly believe that having a legislative body that can meet on a regular basis will accomplish that task. That's just where I kind of stand. So I'm fully in favor of putting together a charter for town council.
Thanks, Chuck. Sure.
I feel that we have been clearly tasked with writing a charter for town council. That's our task. And we've spent the better part of half a year preparing to do that. That's how I'm starting to see this now. And that I agree that town meeting is unique to Nantucket, and it's regrettable that we had not figured out ways of fixing it. Because I think we could have gotten a little bit more mileage out of it. That's my own bias about it. But nevertheless, we have an article, the voters voted on it, so it's our job to make a town council form of government via the charter change and put it in front of the voters so they can have something to vote on. And I think it is definitely time to get going with that. I think we spent a lot of time looking over the things. I certainly have more questions, but as Jeff has recently pointed out, a lot of those questions and folks who they will get sorted out as we go and as we start building the craft. So I'm fine with that. I know some of this might be getting ahead of things, but I do currently have an interest in mayoral, although when I hear Bo talk about his reasons for not having mayoral, I can certainly recognize the problems that they're in, but I do feel that the transition for Nantucket between a town meeting and town council, if the voters choose to do that, that we will need to tailor the transition and the type of town council that we put together very, very much for Nantucket, and it will look different than other places. And part of that is, I certainly agree, we need a strong institution, we need strong people in those roles, but that's not really up to us because they're gonna get elected. And we have no control over that. But I think it would be very important that we do choose to tailor a town council with adding or keeping a town meeting for the residents so that they can go, not only will they be able to go to town council meetings every week or every other week, but that they will have that age-old time-honored tradition of being able to go to a town meeting where Nantucketers can see a big group of Nantucketers and have that kind of experience. I do think that would be a really important part of the transition to work with. So I guess that's what I'll say for now. I hope that makes my position.
Thanks, Caroline. Tom, I sort of swung past the TV screen. Do you want to make a comment? Do you have a little, what's your position?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would just briefly say that in my position on the select board, I don't feel that this is my place to, if it's the will of the committee that you all want to move forward with the essence of what Curtis's article was, and also given the comments in the select board and when you came, and there's like a wider picture here, but from just my perspective, I don't think it's my place to say. So I think you guys should proceed as you will. I'm here to stay on and give input as I see fit, and maybe be the relay between town admin or certain department heads, or not that Jeff can, of course, et cetera. But that's what I see my role moving forward is. So I would abstain from any vote, and I will be staying around.
You know? Understood. Jill, have a comment?
Yeah. I'm probably gonna say things are already, it's that one already. It's super.
All right.
We're just gonna say it one more time, guys. One more. So I am definitely in favor of moving forward with writing the charter. I'm gonna fight Curtis on a couple of points that he made. I think you can be sure of that, but on the whole, on the same team, I know. So, but here are the reasons, and some of this is really through the lens of having been on the finance committee for the last 6 years, and then being a New Brown resident for over 10 years. So I've been to a lot of town meetings, and sometimes it's multiple town meetings in a year now, as we see. But number one, it's the flexibility, it's making decisions more quickly and undoing things maybe more expediently. We need to spend money, we can. If we want to introduce new regulations, we can. We also need a more professional way of writing regulations. We need lawyers involved in a lot of these things. And these citizen-led articles to change regulations, I think that we want citizen involvement, but I don't, it's often a failure. It's sort of like a citizen came in and they wanted to ban fertilizer on the island. Well, there was a great effort and it was really noble, but we knew that really wasn't. They passed, the Attorney General never signed it, but it's a good example of something like we've spent a lot of time talking about this and it's completely futile. Right now, the short-term rental articles, most of the articles have been citizen-led, and we haven't gotten anywhere. I know we're gonna try again. I hope it works out, but again, lawyers have to really be involved in something that is that regulatory. And so debating on town floor, again, just becomes an exercise in futility for people, which is why they're not coming. It really is. They're getting bogged down in the weeds on some things that really doesn't affect their lives on a day-to-day basis. So I have a lot of problems with some of the citizen-led articles, even though in a town council form of government, they can still come forward and have an idea and work with the town council and I like that about it. They actually can talk to fewer people and probably get answers to things that they want to, or something they feel passionate about. And they might feel a little less exposed, right? They're talking to fewer people rather than standing up and expressing themselves. Adding on to that, we live in an information age. I actually already know what all you guys think about things for the most part if you're standing up on top floor before I got there. I don't need to go and sit there in person and listen to this again. And it's the same 13 people that stand up every time. I already know what they said because they posted on Facebook 100 times. Again, this is like causing people to not come because it's annoying and it's a waste of time. It really is. So you can tell I feel passionately about the town meeting not in a good way to write regulations, make policy, pass spending. And because I don't, it's okay for government to be a little inefficient and take a long time, but it's not okay for us to sit there and have to listen to everybody's thought of the day about it. That is just, life is way too short. The town meeting voters are a small percentage of the larger population and even the registered voting population. Like I said, the complexity of public policy requires more than vetting one night at town meeting between the same, 10, 15 people. It's our own town meeting and it's exploding budget and policy challenges, like Jeff said. And historically, the connection to town meeting has been lost. So it's an uphill battle to engage new voters because they don't have that connection to it. They didn't grow up in it. They didn't grow up here. So they don't have that. It's a whole new system for them. And it is a very complex system, actually. How they put together a warrant is a lot more complicated than anybody even knows. And lastly, the thing that really excites me about town council is that things aren't gonna change that much. They might change in terms of policy, but for people on an everyday basis, it's not gonna change that much. We're just getting rid of town meeting. They can still go and appeal to a town council. They can still go and serve on a board. They can still, go speak at public comment. They can still go push an idea, maybe want to change their zoning if they feel like it. They can still do all these things. And if anything, if they really care, they're gonna get more involved in their government as a result, and not less. So, as you can tell, I'm in favor of doing it, and, I can't wait to debate you.
It would be a pleasure.
Great. Monitor can comment.
I pretty much, I think everybody, I mean, you made some alternative points as well, but I think everybody sort of kind of saying the same thing. I apologize for the last 2 meetings. I've sort of been in and out of them, so I had to try to rewatch some of it to get an idea of where we're at. But this, I thought was really a good start, based on what we need to do. And where I look at our next steps, like, yes, our charge is to look at what the town council look like. So say I wasn't on this committee, and like Bo pointed out, there's a million things going on. And unless you're knowing where to look and to find it, how do you find it? So if I'm presented with this, what's the best way to move forward? So I would want to know what we have now, and I think we need to just summarize that. All of the challenges and why we're looking at changing. And I think a lot of what everybody said here is pretty much in bits and pieces, but if it can be more concise. And then have us create a council to actually show, okay, this is what we have, here's our challenges. Here's what's gonna change. Here's a little information on the other forms that we're not really charged with, and then just push the path forward. And I don't know if the article we put forward to town meeting has to be so specific to say we want 9 members and 4-year terms, or if that is like a draft that we're sort of presenting about what remains and what changes, and that gets hashed out after the approval of the article, where maybe more of the transition gets done, or how much of those details we have to do up front. So for me, in terms of next steps, the ongoing feedback from the community, the outreach, the education is always going to be in the middle and ongoing during the steps. But I mean, I feel like we've really hashed out a lot of this stuff, and even watching the last meeting, we're sort of just the circular conversation kind of keeps going. So I would really like to get into the, you know, archaic expression of meat and potatoes of this and say, this is what we have, this is what's changing. And then that will really be what drives people to understand this and move forward or not. Whether you support it personally on the committee or not, I mean, that's for you to vote on at town meeting, right? That's what was said last time. But what does that look like, so that we're within the form and we know what we have, we know what's gonna change? That's, I mean, I feel like I'm struggling for all of us to move forward without something like that. Curtis started it, so, you know, to echo Jill, maybe we just start
We'll have a
debating
great
and
time.
argue, you know, this is what's staying the same, so we don't really have to hammer into that, but here's the elements of our current government that would change. And how do we want it to change to meet the things we've identified as challenges? And once you have that information clearly laid out, I think we're all saying it in different ways, but we don't all have it in the same format. That's when you can start the outreach a little bit easier and get the feedback a little bit easier. Right now, it's just too distorted for me.
Guess that leaves me. I think,
Is Donna going to come?
oh,
yeah.
actually, yeah, that's a good point. Donna, I'm sorry. Go-
Yeah, Mr. Chair,
I
may I
apologize. Go for it.
contribute?
Go
Mr. Chair-
for it, Donna. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
Oh,
to.
that's okay.
That's
I
in
just
front.
wanted permission to contribute if I could. The Advisory Committee of Non-Voting Taxpayers has already endorsed the Town Council Study Committee efforts. And it's through an email by our chair, Peter Halley. We do look forward to, as non-voting taxpayers, to having a greater voice and a more active role in the new town council government and all the commissions that will be a part of it. We just see this as essential for us. We're a large group. We actually, we're like a huge corporation. Nantucket is like a huge corporation, and we do need change, and we'd like to, it certainly will be to our advantage to have a new town council. There's so many pros and in our opinion, very few cons as far as moving forward. It's so efficient. It's a continuous form of government. We feel that it would be perfect for our group of non-voting taxpayers.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
I guess just to throw my 2 cents in here at the end, I don't think anybody would be surprised. I've been pro town council since the first meeting we've had. Like Jill, I spent many years on the finance committee, watching, I thought many times sort of pointless discussion because no one's minds were ever changed on town meeting floor. And just a very inefficient, slow, cumbersome process. So I've been kind of a supporter of town council form of government since before Curtis wrote his article. So I joined this committee to support Curtis's article. I felt that was the direction that the town ought to go in. I also think that, we have been more than respectful of the request of the select board to take some time to educate ourselves about other forms of government, what their characteristics are, what their pros and cons are. So I think from that front, I think it's been a good use of our time, and I think we've, sort of respected the request of the select board to do that. At the same time, I think we're at a point now, kind of touching on what Rachel said, I think we've read, we've done the research, we've done the self-education. I think it's time to return to basic wording of Curtis's article and number one, create a charter and an article that we can put before the voters. And number two, do the necessary public outreach, talk to people around the town to both gain their input as well as to try to influence and get them to support the idea of the town council form of government. And with that, I don't know if we have to go through this necessarily page by page, but it's been in the back of my mind that some of us, me and maybe some of the rest of the committee, have commitments to talk to homeowners associations. I was interviewed by the paper a couple of days ago. I think we need to have a reasonably consistent story so that whichever one of us is talking to the public, we're telling kind of the same story. And so that was why I my PowerPoint program and wrote put this little handout together. And I basically tried to synopsize the efforts that we've been going through. So I tried to talk a little bit about the background of what's out there so that we can educate people we're talking to about the forms of government. Talk about open town meeting and why the committee doesn't believe it has the flexibility to service the town going forward. Some positives about town council and a little bit of information about how the process might work. I would be more than happy either today or at a future meeting if we wanted to. This thing could certainly use some refinement, but I don't know whether you want to do that today or not. I personally would advise not. I think, just listening to everyone's comments, I think we're kind of in reasonable agreement that it's time to move forward to work on developing a charter and work on communicating what we're doing to the town and use that as the focus of our time for the next, whatever it ends up being, X months to complete this task. I mean, but I open the table. We can, talk about reactions, thoughts.
I have two comments. First of all, if we're going to have an article for the 2025 annual town meeting, the deadline would be November. I think that's when the warrant closes, unless we're not citizens, maybe get subset of the select board.
Well, I think we have to check with town council because I would say it's an open question as to whether the article that we create is a citizen's article or whether we write a report and deliver the format to the select board. Okay. And then they have, as you know, more time to submit an article.
Well, I'm saying that that's a factor that we need to address so we know what our time frame is. The second thing I'd really like to suggest After Mark Ells was here, he sent copy of the charter from Barnstable when they changed to a town council. Now, I printed it out and I have read it. And I don't know if the rest of you have gotten it or want to get it, but I would strongly encourage you to look at that particular charter that they did, I think it was 06 or something. And there's a lot of information that's useful. They started out with more members of the council and they changed that over time. One of the very interesting things is that when their article came up to they had a representative town meeting at the time, and when their article came up, 6,600 people voted in favor of the change, but 3,500 people voted against it. So, you know, if you have an opportunity to comment on what we present, and there it wasn't a slam dunk, it was the same kind of hard work we have. But I encourage you all to get that charter. And if it was sent to you or was it sent to me? I got it.
I thought you sent it to me, Curtis, but I
Well, I can send it to you again, and anyone who wants it can, or maybe you want to just send it out to everyone. It's 25 pages. I printed it, but I have an unlimited number of pages. So
okay.
very interesting to read.
Any other thoughts? Anthony and the folks from the Collins Center, I apologize. I should have introduced and reminded everybody that you were on the line, but any comment or thoughts from you folks?
I don't think we have
Or not?
a comment. We were just talking about amongst ourselves, strategies to help you go forward, as it sounds like you're going to be getting into the weeds and starting to write something, or at least look at articles for a town council charter. I don't know if you're planning to do that today. I was kind of assuming there might be more debate.
Well, I think there's been less debate than I think we're turned out to be in reasonable agreement, which is maybe a good thing, is a good thing. I'd say that it might lead us to the discussion of how much time do we all want to spend over the summer months getting together or not. And then, you know, it's certainly a bi-weekly meeting schedule is not the end of the world through the summer, but I don't know what people feel. Bill?
I think if we could, I mean, in October 30 deadline.
Yeah, I mean, I expect to rely heavily on the Collins Center in terms of the charter development and helping us, you know, just sort of bootstrap us into doing that. But I mean, personally, I don't know what you guys, I'm happy to continue. We could sort of rejigger things and meet every other week. It's fine by me, but it's what's the committee's pleasure on it?
May I?
Sure, Donna.
Okay, yes, I'm very much for it. Every other week, we've been moving along very nicely. And I don't want to get stuck. I think we've got a good momentum going. There may be occasions when people have company and so forth, but if we could keep along with this schedule, I think it would be very beneficial.
Fine.
Thank you.
Is everybody okay with it?
I thought I heard Joel say that we might need to be meeting more, not less, in order
See,
to.
we were going once a month, and now we're saying go back
Yeah.
every 2 weeks.
I was reading, you don't get any like this, so, okay.
But is everybody okay with every other week, or do you, I mean, if you want to meet more,
I think it's not what we want. I think if we have to get it done by, I think we should assume that we're not select board, that we are citizens. I mean, maybe Tom could speak to that, but that's October, right? So I think we need to work back from there. You know, we've been told and admonished by many people who've spoken to us that this is extremely complicated. And even though the charter looks very simple and we can pull one off the shelf, it's not going to be that way.
Yeah.
It's gonna be more complicated.
Can I just make the motion that we meet every other week?
all right. So the motion on the floor is going back to a bi-weekly schedule. Motion's been made and seconded. Rachel? Curtis? Bill? Caroline? Tom?
I with the comment that it may be me or my alternate.
All right. Jeff? Aye. Kelly?
Aye.
Bo? Joe? Aye. All right, well, that was good. Well, then that leaves me with, questions. Do we want to, I'm sorry, Jen.
Sorry, I just wanted to, so there's a call that are gonna come to us. So that's what we're saying now, like. And then we're gonna cover that in.
You know, I don't know, but actually, it did remind me, Anthony. I'll put you on the spot a little bit. How much time do you think we need to budget to actually, I don't know, get a reasonable draft of a town charter, town council town charter? Is your experience, is this 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? What?
Meeting twice a month. I would say 6 months would be on the faster side of completing a full charter. So I would expect longer than that usually.
Well, what I was thinking of sort of splitting the deal here, and why don't we stick with bi-weekly for the summer? And when we get to September, we'll have a sense as to whether we've made progress or haven't been making that much progress, and we can dial it up if we want to.
Except for being a special town meeting, which will embroil.
Mr. Chair.
Not the
Yeah.
articles.
Sorry, Jeremy, invitation.
I think Tom had a comment.
Who's,
Tom,
sorry, Tom.
Yep, Mr. Chair, if I may, you might want to talk to somebody in town admin about what is going to be on the 2025 spring town meeting, the annual town meeting warrant, because as far as I understand, it's going to be very chock full. And yeah, I just throw that out in general, not for any, but that may or may not change any bandwidth considerations that the committee can take into account.
Okay, Tom, thank you. Yes, Donna.
And given that information, perhaps it'd be a good idea to alert whomever that we will be coming up with something for the next spring annual town meeting.
I would agree with that, with the caveat that I think Tom's waving the flag, just, it sort of depends on what the agenda looks like, and do we really want to drop this, another controversial or, well, potentially controversial article onto a agenda, a warrant that's got full of stuff that people are going to be fighting over, but I don't know. I will check with Libby about what is known about spring 25 agenda, and then I'll report back to you all. I'm trying to get Jeremy's been patient here. Sorry.
My observation is that life would be easier for everybody, pros and cons. Maybe you could get the columns through, do a summary of the terms of what we're proposing or could propose here. And that way, what you do is you close out the conversation, focus on the issues that everybody has issue with. And so that comparative analysis, and it could include what other towns do as well. But to the extent you have a comparative document of the Curtis took track a dozen terms, I think they're going to get a lot more. But if we could have that, and they don't have to have the final thing, but just the issues that we have to discuss. And I think that document will immensely help this out.
I'd like to pick up on that thought. I would hope that for the next meeting, having had this discussion, people could come in and say, okay, I think these things should be in the new charter. And that's where I've outlined things like various boards still being referred to for advice and so forth. And each of us come back and say, this is what I think, I want to make sure this is covered and that is covered. And then give those ideas to Collins from the next meeting and ask them now to help synthesize.
Well, I think that's a good idea. What actually occurred to me, and Anthony, you got your hand raised, but you know, Caroline and Jeff and I have met with the Collins Center generally the Monday after each meeting to kind of talk about what we talked about and plan the agenda for the next, our next meeting. Strikes me, Anthony, would it be possible for you to, kind of create a workflow in terms of here's how composing a charter might work and, sort of outline the 4 to 6 months, I'm being very optimistic, 4 to 6 months, of drafting a charter, or do you have some other idea in terms of how we might plan for this?
In terms of a work plan, we can definitely, we meet on, we can definitely help sort of, again, it's going to depend on the committee. This committee took a significant amount of time in the start to sort of think about, which direction they wanted to go. So but we can sort of, help you game plan out sort of what the work plan would be. I was just discussing with my colleagues, we have, what I call an exemplar charter, of sort of the most common provisions or it's called like the basic provisions in most charters. It's about 10 articles, right? Not articles like, town meeting, but 10 articles sort of organizationally. And I think what we can do is we can circulate that to the body so that you can see here are the 10 areas that you're most likely to be hitting in terms of having to write something out. Our usual suggestion is, what's the most pressing issue? I think coming into this, it had been that sort of idea of the legislative branch. And so while there are 10 articles, usually the legislative branch is Article 2 or 3, you'd start with that sort of most pressing issue, perhaps knock it out. And it sounds like Curtis has already the framework of that. And then we can go in order of significance through the remaining articles in the time period that the committee's working. Before I stop, I just want to give Pat or Mel, did you want to get any input there or clarify anything? I'm seeing shaking heads. So that was the input I just wanted to share with the committee.
Okay, well, we can talk some more about this on Monday. Any other? Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. I fully agree with Jeremy in terms of there being some sort of a summary. I think if the committee moves along and progresses and achieves resolution of some sort of a draft charter and haven't done the homework on the outreach educational side with the community, it's going to solve it. Waste of time. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I think having, we've already got a number of meetings with community groups set up, and we expect to have some more throughout the summer. So, I agree. We've got to both sort of build the car as well as promote the car.
Yeah. And I think also, as Kelly was saying, you need to be showing all the pros and cons, pluses and minuses of things. So people don't just say, okay, I'm just being told, eat this because this is what's being put on the plate. I want to know what's the menu and why should I agree to choose this particular course?
Yeah. All right. Caroline?
How many presentations are we lined up to do for the different associations? I'm only aware of 2.
I have 2. I have Wisconsin Civic and the Preservation Institute.
I've got the Nantucket Civic League President's Breakfast or something coming up. It's great.
And the Brown Point Association.
In the brand 24.
Just pointing out, I'm able to support voters.
Gotta start somewhere.
I hear you, but I mean,
It's true. This is what I'm wondering about. So
I'm not telling you not to do it. I don't mean that. I'm just trying to be like, we need to spend time reaching people here if we want to get
Right.
support.
Well, I think, one thing that I think we've talked about in previous meetings is having, having a public hearing kind of meeting and promote that there's a public, try to recruit people to come in either by Zoom or in person.
I'd like to come. When I talked to the Wisconsin Civic people, I said to them, the majority of you are similar people, you're not voting. But the people who work with you, work for you, are residents, they are potential voters, or there are people who are disenfranchised, all of whom will have access to the council now, so that essentially my question is, why am I talking to you? I'm talking to you so you can be aware that the people you work with who support you being here are able to have more to say. And so that's my direct pitch to the non-voter, non-resident summer people.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that. I just like, the first thing we're talking about is about reaching people and reaching people who don't vote. So I'm just saying, like, could we maybe talk about having another group of people who do vote and how can we reach them? And I'll think about that before.
Yeah, I mean, that's a challenging, you know, how you get to a bunch of voters. When one of the fundamental problems with open town meeting is that 90% of the people don't go. I mean, so, you know, you've already got a universe of citizens who aren't that interested in town government to begin with.
No, I'm not, but.
So, well, something we can-
Let me try to think of some.
Well, should you be a report at the special town meeting, just an main report? Or is that gonna be too wrapped up on the SU?
Well, you know, we kind of got slapped down by Sarah at town meeting to, you know, we wanted to put a sort of a newsletter or a news sheet out. And she kind of said that's not something that town likes to do, so you have to find a different way to reach the man on the street, the voters. I mean, you know, Caroline wrote an article that she and I traded back and forth. I made some changes, but you know, we can certainly get that out in the paper. I mean, I had the article in the Nantucket Current last week. And I think that whole idea of a PR effort, we can be more proactive now.
Maybe once a month writing an update and the.
Yeah, I think the more we get to the meeting.
Donna?
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think if we can enlist the Inky and the wire services that we have, I think that's a great way to reach out to everybody.
Mr. Chair, very quick point.
Sure, Tom.
One of the Inky reporters is going to reach out to you. They asked me for your number the other day, so that's
Okay.
coming.
Great. Hillary, I apologize. I finally noticed you had your hand up. You've been very patient. Fire away.
Hi, thanks, everybody. So I just wanted to comment on the output to this point. And I've had a hard time understanding, I've had a hard time making sense of comments that have come from the board, from individuals saying, all right, well, our job is to write a charter. So we need to write the charter, write it up the flagpole and see if anyone salutes. And then other comments that have been along the lines of, well, the select board wants us to study all the forms, so we need to do that at least a little bit. I think that what we're seeing is, despite that discussion, your group is arriving at consensus that you want to, that you as a group, the majority of you agree with a town council, strong town manager form, and therefore you're going to proceed to the next step, which is to produce the charter for people to vote on. So my comment is to ask, would there be any interest in having a two-step interface with the voting public? The first step would be to see if the voting public agrees with you. Because writing a charter is a lot of resources and a lot of time, and you might actually find that you won't convince people. You can't put a really complicated document in front of people and expect everybody is going to be happy to jump into the deep end of the pool and swim with you. I think people are very suspicious of a town council. So I think, and I know you know this because you keep talking about, oh, well, we want to make a big effort and we want to talk to people and how do we do this? And so I'm not saying there isn't a desire there. I know there is, but one of the things that you need to convince people is you need to have some kind of a report. And I think this is what Jeremy was talking about. Like, you know, a typical, boardroom exercise would be a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Let's make a list. And see where we are with all of these things. So I certainly think that you're going to have a big problem getting the voters of Nantucket to agree with you that there should be a town council if you don't at least have some sort of a document that says, here's why we, in our wisdom and with our research, have decided to recommend this to our community. And it's got to be something that people, you know, won't shoot down or won't decide is wrong. I'm in favor of, and I wondered if you would consider those two steps, because I will tell you, just speaking for myself, I have not heard convincing arguments that would get me to vote for a town council. And it's not for lack of trying to think that way. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks. Donna? I'm sorry, I could do that.
You're on mute, Donna.
To that point, Hillary, Joe had just circulated this morning a, if you will, a document, a step towards more responsive town government on Nantucket. So there is a movement getting started to do this very same thing that you are suggesting. And it's a PowerPoint presentation, and it's helpful for us as we go and speak to people and have sort of a unified message that we're getting out to the public. So Joe did draft this and he just sent it this morning. So
Yeah,
we are on that.
I just-
That was a lot of work. So we're moving forward with that too.
Thanks, Donna. We should try to avoid having people debate across the meeting. Technically, you're supposed to talk through me and all that sort of thing. So, but thank you.
Oh,
Thank you,
sorry.
Donna, and Hillary, thank you for your comments. I think we are making some baby steps in that direction. So, sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, may I, in light of those comments, may I ask also that, for example, Curtis's reference to Barnstable documents that could be available through your website.
I think we have we have a certain amount of documents that could be loaded up to the website that have come up in the last meeting. So good point. Do that. Justin.
I was just gonna say, I think probably a good agenda item for our next meeting, one would be for people to provide comments to the document that you sent around to the PowerPoint, maybe with some additional outreach ideas for groups or locations, just for kind of discussion amongst the groups. And not to get into comments too hard, but I guess personally, I just feel like we're deciding one way or another, but we're really just deciding to do the work that everyone keeps asking us to do. Like,
Yeah.
I know I used a cheesy analogy last time. We're trying to decide which form to go in, and we haven't looked at the details of the main form we've been asked to look at, right? Curtis started today with the discussion is I think we all know the basic government theory behind all of these forms, right? None of it's new, right? Representative government's been going on for thousands of years, right? It's not a great new concept. And I know Nantucket's will be unique and tailored and all of those things that are super important, but we have to do the work and look at the details, and that's what we have to do. That's the work we have to show. We can't simply expect the voters, I agree, to wholesale say on June 12th, we've decided to commit down a path to put together a charter to town council. So we should all just buy into that because they said we're going to do it on June the 12th. We have to do the work. We have to show them that we're doing the work with the reasoning behind it. That's what people need to see, and they need to see it. We've done a great groundwork to lead up to that, but that's the work that we have. Personal opinion, I know that everyone may not agree with that, but that to me is our next step, is to do that work, to have that, to show people actual work.
So I feel like everybody's saying the same thing, again, different ways. So this, I didn't get a chance to go too far into it. I don't know if everybody got to see it. I think this addresses a way to provide a consistent, clear, digestible message to the public as well as ourselves of what we're trying to accomplish. Right, that's part of our
That's
guide. part of the public outreach. So doing this so that it's digestible, it's clear. We've identified the different forms. There's a brief synopsis of each, what our problems are that we're trying to fix, what it might look like. And then that's one agenda item. Like maybe that should be what we do. Like Jeff said, we all come back with some comments. That way we also make sure that all of our own comments are included in this in some way. So what I might see as a challenge is the biggest challenge with open town meeting, and why we might want to change to a different form, might be different than codes or melody, but at least they're all in one thing. So when we're all talking or doing whatever, it's one clear, consistent, digestible message. Otherwise, you're gonna deal with stacks of paper like this, right? The other is the actual charter, the details, that's why I thought we have Colin to help us with, these are the decisions you need to make, here's sort of a framework, here's what works, here's what doesn't, and we hammer that out. And then the last is the outreach, which both of those things, I think, will guide us with. So right now, we're talking about all these things, but we're not diving into it to kind of create the document and keeping our ideas on paper so that we can keep building on them. One thing that I know with the outreach that I had a question on, I don't know if everybody's seen it or partaken or participated in it, but I can't remember if it was in the town admin newsletter or just Facebook or whatever, but there was a question sent out to the public for feedback about annual town meeting. Did you attend? It was very quick, very brief. I wasn't able to attend 100% the last two meetings, so I wasn't sure if that came from this committee and I dismissed it or not. I don't know where that came from, but so who did it? Who developed the questions? What are those results? What are those, what's happening with those results? What does that do? And if obviously, okay, so it wasn't this committee. Do we want to do something similar, but are we privy to those results that might also help us make sure that we're hitting in here what the public thinks are the challenges currently with town meeting, or what they like about town meeting? And that, I mean, I don't, again, I assume it was just town admin that did that, but there might be some people who have participated in that, so it's not just the people around this table. We're getting some of that information.
Is that a survey or what's?
It was
Yeah,
like a
it was
survey, you clicked on it, there was maybe 4 questions, and then like an open-ended comment.
You think it was done by Libby or?
No, I think they hired PR a year ago. And I'm sure it's something that
What the hell was the result? I mean, feedback from the town attendants.
It was okay with the deadlines.
The 20th.
Just
Oh.
online.
I don't think it's
online
closed yet.
survey.
Alright, so maybe that's something that this committee can request when those results are done. And I mean, it does seem like some of the questions were geared towards like, how can we improve annual town meeting? But I think getting that feedback will help us know what the challenges are or why people like it or don't. I think that'll help us get some of that so that that can get incorporated in this, so that when we're making these charter outline changes, that will help us.
Okay. So to wrap all this, our next meeting then will be Wednesday, the 26th. All right. I think the two, I would propose that the two things we talk about are everybody would take a shot at comments, edits, what's missing, what works, what doesn't work in like my little PowerPoint. That would be helpful. And then I think we'll talk to the folks in the Collins Center about kind of what's a project plan for how do you start in terms of developing a new charter? What are the, some of it's the stuff that Curtis talked about, but how are we going to do this and lay out a plan? And so I think that we've got kind of the charter development track and the public outreach track.
Joe, would you mind sending out my outline so everybody has a copy?
I will, I'll send that.
We
Now,
we have 2 comments.
sound available.
Mr. Chair, I just want to comment quickly that the results of that survey are to be presented, as Libby commented at Select Board last week, to the Select Board when they are compiled. I am happy to forward those to you to circulate to the committee as soon as I get them.
Great, thanks, Tom. Hillary, you got your hand up?
Oh, yeah, thanks. Sorry, I just assumed that survey was from you guys. So that's interesting to hear that it wasn't. that it wasn't from you guys. I had one suggestion. There were questions about, how to do a general voters information session. I attended 2 information sessions in pre-COVID times. They were organized by Erica. One was about treatments of streets and sidewalks downtown that was causing a lot of concern for folks. This was back in 2018, I think. Another one was for treatments of overhead wires and a lot of concern about, are we ever going to bury these wires? That was probably in 2019. And basically, Erica reserved the public safety, the community room. It was advertised widely that there would be a public information session. And that room was packed. And that was before things were broadcast. So it wasn't even hybrid. But I think if you scheduled a couple sessions for anyone, I mean, obviously wouldn't just be voters, to come and offer public comment about questions, concerns, you could make your PowerPoint presentation and you could hear what everybody thought. I think you would find that room would be absolutely overflowing. So I just wanted to encourage you to maybe have a couple of those
Good idea.
this summer. Yeah, thanks.
Good idea. Anything else? Well,
Can I make a comment just to say that can we structure the project or talk to or gauge the Collins Center just to get this going for the next meeting? Because it is going to determine the agenda items for all the summer. And I think if we just have concrete agendas, this would speed up.
I think I agree. I think if we start talking about how the charter is formed and what, whether it's the number of counts, I don't know, all the details, there will be more to talk about in a meeting when you talk about something concrete. With you. I would like to propose, since we had our roundtable and turned out we're all largely in agreement, but Pat of the Collins Center supplied me with a draft motion. I'll just read it out and see if everybody's comfortable, but move that the committee focus its efforts on the adoption of a council form of government for the purposes of soliciting public input and preparing a detailed charter proposal for consideration by the select board, town meeting, and Nantucket residents.
Second.
All in favor? Well, actually, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so the motion has been moved and seconded. Rachel?
Aye.
Aye. Curtis? Jill? Caroline? Tom?
Abstain.
Fair enough. Jeff?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
Joe, aye. All right. With that, unless anybody has any further comments, I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. Rachel?
Aye.
Curtis? Jill? Caroline? Tom?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Bo?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Sorry, went out of order. Thank you all.
Bye.